Good evening. I would like to call to order this Anoka-Hennepin School Board meeting for today, February 24th, 2025. Please join the board in pledging our allegiance. All right, our first order of business is to approve the board agenda. Is there a motion to approve the board agenda as presented? Thank you, Director DeShane. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Adet. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, will all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, the agenda is approved. Members, our next order of business is item 4, recognitions, and item 4A, Champlin Brooklyn Park Academy 2025 Merit School of Excellence. Welcome Dr. Mary Wolverton, Associate Superintendent, and Heidi Kuba, Principal, Champlin Brooklyn Park Academy.
Good evening, co-chairs Arco, DeShane, members of the school board, and Superintendent McIntyre. This evening, I'm very honored to introduce several of our elementary magnet schools who have received some awards. There are 2 awards that have been honored, or our schools have received this past year, and the 2 awards are the Magnet Schools of Excellence and the Magnet School of Distinction Award. 5 schools in the state of Minnesota were honored with the award of Magnet Schools of Excellence. 2 of the 5 schools in the state of Minnesota that were given this award are Anoka-Hennepin elementary schools. Magnet Schools of Excellence are given to only a select group of magnet schools that have demonstrated the highest standards in all facets of the merit award criteria. Champlin Brooklyn Park Academy, Mathematics and Environmental Science, and Lincoln Elementary School for the Arts were honored with this award. The second award is the Magnet School of Distinction Award. This award is the second level of awards given to magnet schools that have met all of the basic requirements as well outlined in the merit awards criteria. 2 schools in the state of Minnesota were honored with this award. Those 2 schools are Monroe Elementary, Mathematics and Science Engineering, and University Avenue, Aerospace and Engineering. We will start with acknowledging the Magnet Schools of Excellence. I am honored to introduce Heidi Kuba, Principal of Champlin Brooklyn Park Academy, who will introduce her team.
Good evening, co-chairs Arco and DeShane, Superintendent McIntyre, and members of the board. It is a distinct privilege to be here this evening to acknowledge the exceptional work being conducted at Champlin Brooklyn Park Academy for Math and Environmental Science, where we aspire to be innovative world changers. I am both proud and honored to announce that our school has been designated as a 2025 Merit School of Excellence by Magnet Schools of America. Our dedicated school team has demonstrated unwavering commitment to our specialty program, and this recognition serves as a testament to the daily dedication and tireless efforts of every staff member at CBPA. Joining me this evening are to represent our school community are curriculum integrator Casey Wiedemann and parent representative Katie Moss. Earlier this fall, our curriculum integrator, along with a dedicated group of teachers, undertook the significant task of preparing and submitting a comprehensive application to the Magnet Schools of America. We extend our sincere gratitude to this team for their efforts in preparing this application, as well as our entire school community for their ongoing commitment to our specialty focus.
Champlin Brooklyn Park Academy for Mathematics and Environmental Science has been an award-winning specialty school since its creation in 2010. In the past 15 years, we've been recognized by Magnet Schools of America 8 separate times. We are extremely proud of our program's history and remain hopeful for our future in Anoka-Hennepin. Our aim at CBPA is to empower all of our learners to become confident, high-achieving problem solvers through unique and integrated experiences within our specialty focus. At CBPA, our students explore math and environmental science concepts within the regular classroom context and through several unique hands-on learning experiences. Many of these experiences are provided through our long-standing community partnerships, specifically the naturalists at Mississippi Gateway Regional Park and the Master Gardeners from the University of Minnesota Junior Master Gardener Program. Our teachers integrate the many specialty school experiences with core content and daily instruction to deepen our students' understanding of the wider world around them, from first graders collecting and observing bugs in a nearby grassland to fifth graders modeling gardening skills to the younger schoolmates in the greenhouse. Our goal at CBPA is to empower all of our learners to become confident, high-achieving problem solvers through unique integrated experiences with the help of our entire staff, parents and guardians, community members, PTO, and valued partners. We are well on our way. To conclude, let me state on behalf of our entire CBPA community that we're honored to have our school formally recognized by Magnet Schools of America and deeply appreciate the district's recognition as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I noted previously, there are 2 awards that are honored or provided for magnet schools, and one of them is the Magnet Schools of Excellence. Within the Magnet Schools of Excellence, there are schools that are selected as being the top Magnet Schools of Excellence. In the state of Minnesota, 4 schools were provided this award, and Hoover Elementary is one of those 4 schools in the state of Minnesota that have been honored with the top Magnet School of Excellence. At this time, I'm privileged to introduce Min Struess, principal of Hoover Elementary Biomedical, Health Sciences, and Engineering School.
Good evening, members of the school board. I'd like to introduce Matt Thompson, our curriculum integrator. We are excited to announce that Hoover Elementary has earned that prestigious Magnet Schools of America Top Magnet School of Excellence Award. This remarkable achievement, awarded to only 94 schools nationwide, acknowledges Hoover's dedication to providing a high-quality, STEM-age-focused education. This recognition highlights the strengths of Hoover's Magnet program, which features an aligned vision, integrated curriculum, innovative teaching strategies, and a commitment to student equity. Reviewers commended the hands-on, real-world learning experiences, the data-driven approach to successfully closing achievement gaps, and the focused professional development that we have as a dedicated staff.
Some highlights of our programming include our 5th grade capstone project, where students research, design, and create a prosthetic leg. Our collaborations with the American Heart Association and the American Red Cross, including our very first blood drive this week on Wednesday. We also have opportunities for students to learn from experts in the healthcare field, as well as integrating those concepts across various curriculum areas. This award validates our collective efforts to create an exceptional learning environment. It's a testament to our students, teachers, staff, and families. We thank the school board for your ongoing support, which has been essential to this success. We are eager to build on this momentum and continue providing an excellent education for all Hoover students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next Magnet School of Excellence is Lincoln Elementary School for the Arts. And this evening, there was a prior commitment that Michelle Zimmerman, the principal of Lincoln Elementary, had. She was not able to attend, but I'm honored to introduce Assistant Principal Tara Lawrence, who will introduce their team.
Good evening, co-chairs, Arco and Duchesne, Superintendent McIntyre, and board members. I'm honored to be here tonight to celebrate another recognition of the great work at Lincoln Elementary School for the Arts. Joining me is our curriculum integrator, Andrea Whitcomb, and a fourth grade teacher and theater production director, Rachel Gaspar. We're proud to share that Lincoln Elementary has been named a 2025 Merit School of Excellence by Magnet Schools of America. This honor followed a rigorous application process led by Andrea last fall. To earn this title, Lincoln demonstrated innovative arts-based instruction, staff development, and increased student achievement. The application also highlighted how partnerships with families, community groups, and organizations support our students and arts programming. Anoka-Hennepin's mission is to provide learning opportunities that meet each child's individual needs, and the Lincoln community embodies that promise. Staff, families, community partners, student services, and administration work tirelessly to make Lincoln a place where learning takes center stage.
Well, this award recognizes the importance of the artful work that we do with our students every day at Lincoln. The arts help us deepen student understanding and engagement with academic content like reading and math, and allows for hands-on experiences, increases communication, fluency, comprehension, and self-expression, and it also promotes empathy and awareness of others. We offer unique elementary programming like 4th and 5th grade band, orchestra, and choir, as well as our flourishing 4th and 5th grade theater program. And we have performances this week if anyone would like to come. It would be very fun if you showed up. We also like to communicate our community partnerships with local artists like the Rum River Arts Center, the Lyric Arts Theater down in Anoka, Chico Perez, who a lot of students work with in the district. He's a local drummer. And we also reach out to NPR's class notes and work with artists through there as well. We ensure that our learning is meaningful at Lincoln and that it's accessible to all students and that it's reflective of our student population. Anoka-Hennepin's mission is to meet each child's learning needs, and we want to make sure that we do that at Lincoln. The arts are really an integral part of who we are, and our school song even says it. We are the Lincoln Lions, brave and strong and true. We are the Lincoln Lions, artists through and through. Thank you so much for your recognition tonight.
Our next two magnet schools that we will be honoring are our schools that received the Magnet School of Distinction Award. I'm honored to introduce Amy Oliver, principal of Monroe Elementary, Mathematics, Science, and Engineering.
All right, good evening, co-chairs Arco and Duchesne and Superintendent McIntyre. Thank you for this opportunity to be recognized by the board. This is Christine Contans, our curriculum integrator, and Lisa Simser's in the back. She wouldn't come to the table. Anyway, all of our magnet schools share the philosophy of executing innovative programs with the dedication to diversity and unwavering commitment to the academic standards, because that is the magnet school standard. The Magnet School of Merit's Award elevates that standard to recognize member magnet schools that demonstrate an exemplary commitment to academic standards, curriculum innovation, desegregation and diversity efforts, specialized training, and parent and community involvement. The teachers at Monroe continue to work on Project Lead the Way implementation, collective impact, and unique experiences like STEM Elective Day and buddy classrooms with STEM activities. We continue to lead the way and create fresh, innovative magnet programming for our students at Monroe, and we'd love you to come and visit us and see them. So thank you.
Our next Magnet School of Distinction Award was given to University Avenue Elementary, Aerospace and Engineering. Principal Deidre Blamers was unable to join us this evening, so I'm pleased to introduce Assistant Principal Derek Williamson and Kate Watson, Curriculum Integrator.
Thank you, Dr. Wolverton, co-chairs Arco, DeShane, Superintendent McIntyre, and the rest of the board. This is University Avenue's Aerospace, Children's Engineering, and Sciences Elementary's 10th year being nationally recognized by Magnet Schools of America.
We credit this award to our strong and supportive school community, staff, students, and their parents and families, alignment with the 5 magnet pillars, as well as our district strategic plan and achievement and integration grant goals. Thank you to the board for your time and sharing in these 10 years of recognition. A tradition we have is making sure that our students get to share with you as well. So with that, we would like to close with a word from our students. Thank you.
Co-chairs Arco and Duchesne. Superintendent McIntyre. Members of the school board and community. Guess what? We are celebrating a very special accomplishment. 10! 10! 10! Wait, that's 20. 10! Years of being nationally recognized by Magnet Schools of America for distinction and excellence. Nationally? What nationally mean?
Yep, that means by an organization that
Looks at magnet schools across the
whole country.
Wow! Whoa!
Awesome! We thank you for celebrating with us.
Thank you.
Co-chairs Arco and
I could watch it again.
Next, I am very honored and feel very, very privileged to introduce Denise Schnabel, principal of Ramsey Elementary. Denise has been honored with the Minnesota Elementary School Principal Association North Suburban Division Leadership Award. Denise is an exceptional leader. She has served our elementary schools in Anoka-Hennepin for many years. I can think of 2 different scenarios where her leadership made a significant difference in a change process that our district experienced. One was when we closed and repurposed Champlin Elementary School and Riverview Elementary School and merged those two schools together to be Champlin Brooklyn Park Academy. Denise was significant in relation to her leadership and how it supported that creation of a new school. Another example is when she became principal at Evergreen Park Elementary and created the STEM School of Innovation. Her work and her leadership there still resonates with the phenomenal leadership and the impact on that school. So at this time, I'm pleased to introduce Denise and have her talk a little bit about her work with the Minnesota Elementary School Principal Association.
Good evening, Superintendent McIntyre, co-chairs Arco and DeShane, and school board. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm truly humbled and grateful to have received the 2024 North Suburban Division Leadership Award for MESPA. This recognition is not just a reflection of the efforts that I have made, but a testament to the hard work and dedication of the leaders of all the districts that are supported through MESPA. We are all supporting each other to problem solve today's unique challenges with our students in creative and innovative ways. I'm also very honored to serve alongside such dedicated educators within MESPA, and I appreciate the opportunity to contribute our shared mission. My personal mission has always been to reduce the roadblocks to make others' lives easier. This was just another opportunity for me to do this alongside my colleagues. Thank you again so much for this recognition. I'm truly honored.
All right, well, congratulations to everybody on all of the awards. Members, the next item on our agenda is item 5, the consent agenda. As normal, members can remove items for separate consideration and discussion if that's their desire. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented? Thank you, Director DeShane. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Audette. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will all those in favor say aye? Aye. Any opposed say nay. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, the consent agenda is approved. So our next agenda item is item 6, the communications, delegations, and petition section of our meeting. This is time for community members to provide input directly to the school board about issues that fall within the school board's authority. We plan this agenda item for 15 minutes. Our policy allows for community members to speak for up to 5 minutes, but if there are several persons that want to speak, the chair has the discretion to reduce the time to comment to hear from all and also to keep the meeting on schedule. So during times of large community input, we have been flexible in allowing the meeting to run late. Tonight we have 7 cards, so to keep the meeting on time, I will ask individuals to keep their comments to 2 minutes. And I will ask Co-Chair DeShane to monitor a timer, and if you run over, she will ask you to wrap up your comments quickly. We welcome written testimony if you have more to say than time allows. And for anybody else, please complete a yellow card and provide it to Ms. Kofsky so that we can provide a written follow-up. And a couple of procedural reminders. Our meeting participation procedures are in place to assure open and orderly public comments, as well as to protect the due process and privacy rights of individuals under the law. If speakers use specific names of students, staff, or board members, I will need to interrupt or stop the speaker. Please remember to direct your comments to the school board chair. Members of the audience, please listen respectfully. If the board cannot hear speakers, I may reset the timer to allow speakers to be heard. Audience members that disrupt this portion may be asked to leave for the remainder of the meeting. So with all of that said, welcome the first speaker. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Pankuri G.
Hello.
I'm a parent of 2 students in the district, as well as a taxpayer. Thank you to everyone for the chance to voice my concerns here today. All through 2024, I attended several sessions where I watched this board work through the challenges of the budget cuts that the district was facing. This led me to believe that this board was capable of keeping their personal ideologies outside and as separate as they could, given that the school board member position is a non-partisan elected role. I was therefore extremely disappointed to hear that the board cannot come to a unified decision about accepting an arts award, despite knowing that this funding would give the students of Andover High School the opportunity to display their art in their own hallways. By not accepting these funds, you as a board are creating inequalities of recognition for different fields within education. Students can see their achievements in sports, STEM, music, and other activities displayed, but not art. And you just heard from one of our magnet schools what Elevation of Arts does. Additionally, there are several schools within the district that accept funds from faith-based partnerships, even though there should be a distinct separation of church and state. I assume that this is on the grounds that it creates positive opportunities for all students in the district, even though some of our students participate and are members of those faiths and not all are. This same logic should therefore be applicable to that grant funding, as again, it is going to be used to benefit and inspire all students and not create any sort of divisional activities in students. I encourage you to keep these points in mind as you continue to discuss this issue and come to a conclusion soon. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Angela Nelson. Welcome, Angela.
Good evening. I'm here today as an educator, community member, and a parent of 2 students of Anoka-Hennepin School District to express my deep disappointment and concern regarding the removal of the joint powers agreement related to the art education at Andover High School, which was discussed at the January 13th school board meeting. I noticed that the agenda item has permanently been removed from school board agendas, likely due to adamant disapproval, not of the project's merit, but of the use of diversity, equity, and inclusion terminology on a related website. Since the conversation around the project got distracted by mainstream media rhetoric, I would like to take this opportunity to share what opportunities the students at Andover High School will now miss out on. For some reason, the word equity has become a trigger word for people who do not fully understand what it encompasses. In this case, based on the proposal provided in the school board work packet, the teacher found that students in Level 1 art often didn't see themselves as artists and were unable to display their artwork, which is part of the state standards, due to the 3D nature of their work. This is an equity issue. Allowing one group of art students to display work and not another group of art students is not equitable. So to level the playing field, a grant was received to purchase display cases so that students could display their 3D artwork and feel like the proud artists that they are. Additionally, the proposal would have allowed for guest artists. As a former high school principal, I can tell you that this is an amazing career pathway opportunity that can have students learn how they can take their passion for art and turn it into a lifelong and prosperous career. It's my understanding that the first guest artist was a white male graduate from Champlain Park High School who now designs skateboards. He was going to come in to share what his journey was through high school and beyond to get where he is today. It's incredibly frustrating to me that this opportunity was taken away from students due to a lack of understanding, misguided fear, and the inability to trust educators for the professionals that they are. Additionally, in a time of extreme In a time of extreme budget cuts, most districts would like a program like this to use as a recruitment method. And by stripping away opportunities from families, they will start to consider other public schools, and their funding will go with them. I respectfully request that in the future, the school board does their due diligence in learning about programs and talking with educators before publicly dismissing them due to wording they don't like on a website.
Thank you for the comments. Our next speaker is Paula Moore. Welcome to the board.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me time to address a topic of deep concern to all of us, that is, reading literacy. I know the school board and the state legislature have made efforts to address this literacy crisis. Anoka-Hennepin has developed the Bridge to Read program, and state lawmakers recently passed the Minnesota Reading to Ensure Academic Development Act, or known as the READ Act. There's another program in the school district that focuses on helping our youngest students develop their reading skills. I want to draw attention to Reading Corps. Reading Corps is a federal program and free to schools who apply. Reading Corps tutors work with students in kindergarten through third grade who read just below grade level to improve their reading skills. Anoka-Hennepin has been a Reading Corps partner for more than a decade. Over this time, 172 tutors have helped more than 5,000 students to become better readers. This school year, there are 25 tutors serving in 21 elementary schools. I am fortunate to be one of those tutors. This is my second year working part-time at Brookside Elementary. Each day, I tutor 10 to 15 students, either in pairs or one-on-one. I really enjoy my time with these young learners. The highlight of my day is when they master a specific reading skill. For kindergartners, it's hearing them read and correctly pronounce soft vowel and letter sounds. For first graders, it's hearing them sound out words and read simple sentences. For second and third graders, it's hearing them read with expression and at the same pace at which we talk. I hear the growing confidence in their voices as they master this life-changing skill. I do my job effectively thanks to the support I receive from Reading Corps. Each school year before we enter the classroom, we receive training on research-based reading practices. Then monthly, as we work with students, we are evaluated by Reading Corps coaches during our tutoring sessions and given immediate feedback
That's 2 minutes.
on how we can do better. I appreciate this effort working with Reading Corps. We do have direct contact with an internal coach that is working or has been hired by the school district, but I understand, unfortunately, that a decision was made to eliminate the internal coach position. I am concerned about that. I hope the school board reconsiders that decision because it's important for all of us, school leaders, teachers, parents, and reading tutors, to continue to collaborate.
Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks.
Our next generation is depending on us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Aaron Peterson. Welcome to the board.
Thank you. Board members, Superintendent, thank you for the chance to speak. Funding is a big issue, I know, the way the budget has been, and I did send a letter out to all of you in the last day, so you should have that already, and I just want to highlight some things from that letter that I sent here tonight as well. I wanted to talk about the impact of President Trump's recent executive orders, one titled Defending Women from Gender Ideology Extremism and another Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports and the Impact on the Anoka-Hennepin District. These orders mandate that public schools restrict bathroom use and sports participation to biological sex and eliminate gender ideology from policies and communications, a reversal of the district's current practice. If not, the federal funding Anoka-Hennepin receives, based on the information I saw, is for roughly $14 million, which my math might be wrong, but I think it's about 2% of Anoka-Hennepin's budget, is at risk. And with the budget issues the district is currently facing, losing even just 2% of your budget is not feasible. So you're faced with a dilemma here. You can comply with the executive orders or create a new budget scenario with $14 million in additional cuts. Stated another way, you can revert to what's been standard, right, and good for all of human history and keep that federal funding, or continue to push radical gender ideology popularized in the last 30 seconds and lose it. You've got an opportunity to do what's right for our sons and daughters, but also for the financial position and future of the Anoka-Hennepin District. The Anoka-Hennepin District is the biggest district in the state, and I urge you to act like it. Lead the way by your example to other districts and organizations. Use the weight of your influence to do the right thing and allow others to follow you. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. Our next speaker is Angela Bregelman. Sorry if I mispronounced the last name.
Good evening. I come to you as a parent of two students who have had the immense benefit of attending Lincoln Elementary School for the Arts. We do not currently live in the assigned boundaries of Lincoln and have chosen to open enroll since 2016, but have had a student at Lincoln since 2013. We know that the arts have deeply benefited our children in countless ways. Our elder child would not have made it through high school band without the strong foundation provided at Lincoln. She was in 6th grade when COVID hit and would have quit on the spot had she started just that year. Academically, she is currently a PSEO student in college-level calculus and biology this semester as a junior. Our younger student is in their 2nd year of band and choir at Lincoln. With the care and guidance of her band teachers, she has been able to learn 2 instruments with minimal instruction time, as they only get about 30 minutes a week in band. The teacher is able to offer this form of art to our students because the curriculum integrator position is a full-time position. Also, both of my students have had the great privilege of being involved in Lincoln theater productions. If it is allowed to go down to a half-time position, the students at Lincoln will undoubtedly suffer. So many of the students at Lincoln would not have the opportunity to try any instrument, band, or orchestra without it being offered at no cost at Lincoln First. Beyond music, our curriculum integrator has been able to provide countless arts integration activities for students. As a regular volunteer, I have seen the pure joy and excitement the students experience while using regular skills in new ways. Excuse me, I keep losing my spot. There is no way to measure the way that the arts have impacted my students and all the students that have had the pure joy of being able to attend Lincoln. I greatly encourage you to reconsider your decision to put this position to a half-time position.
That's
and
2 minutes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the comments. Our next speaker is Elizabeth Keykafer. Welcome to the board.
Thank you, school board members, co-chairs DeShane, Arco, and Superintendent McIntyre for this opportunity to speak today. First, I would like to thank you for all the wonderful and great news about Anoka-Hennepin schools I read about in the Winter Focus. From achievements to national recognition for excellence in 6 district schools, the Ally and Avenue Retail Boutique in Anoka, leadership awards to peer connections in middle school health class. All of these and more that make us all so very proud to live and be a part of this school district. As a community member whom had children graduate from Coon Rapids High School, I am interested in our public schools. I support and share the values as stated in the Anoka-Hennepin mission statement. Bullet point 7 of this mission statement is to provide all of our students with a safe and respectful learning environment. This is very important because it would not be possible to learn if a student did not feel safe at school. Along with this written statement, I am attaching, and I already gave it to her, I am attaching a copy of a report from the National Library of Medicine, October 27, 2023. This review describes the modern landscape of how and why gender is used as criteria for the inclusion and exclusion from sports and athletics. I would ask you to read this study to be informed as possible with medical facts. In addition to these facts, the president of the NCAA, Charlie Baker, testified to a Senate panel on December 18th, 2024, that
That's 2
out of the
minutes.
total 510,000 athletes, there are less than 10 transgender athletes who currently compete in college sports. I think our school districts must continue to provide opportunity in all education and sports activities.
Thank you for the comments. Our next speaker is Rod Kuhn. Welcome to the board.
2 minutes is cutting it short. I'd like to address this to the Liberal members of the board as well as Superintendent McIntyre. I've been highly critical of your refusal to publicly explain and defend your curriculum as it relates to racial reckoning and racial healing. My fear was that without transparency and advocacy, your public support would vanish and political support would collapse. Your curriculum would be replaced with pseudo-patriotism, Christian nationalism, and sanitized history. Your outreach efforts are still virtually nil, at least to my knowledge. The focus paper contains nothing. I've seen no articles in the local paper. Superintendent McIntyre's earlier article treats education like a jobs program. At this point, the public and at least half the board is hostile to critical race theory and lacks functional knowledge of systemic racism. The upshot is that there is now a bill in the legislature, HF 29, to dismantle everything connected with race or gender. This happened because you and other liberals sat out the fight. You failed to model democracy by refusing to be publicly transparent and refusing to advocate for the curriculum. You weren't alone, of course. You were joined by most national Democrats, DFLers, and church congregations. In this country, race and caste still are just about synonymous. Frankly, it appears to me that liberals don't understand how critical your role is to the nation's future. Schools and colleges provide the nation's memory and our understanding of the nation's intellectual heritage. Schools are where student values are reality checked against our country's behavior, past and present. History is how we understand the present and how we formulate solutions to problems. When patriotic history deletes the details of our racial savagery and memorializes the Confederate narrative, national history is erased and perverted, values become upended, solutions become impossible, and democracy becomes a sham. The purpose of the Constitution, as stated in the preamble, is to establish justice. It is not to protect white egos or defend patriotic narratives. Your curriculum is profoundly patriotic and should be defended as such. Education and racial justice are the issues on which defenders of democracy and defenders of the Constitution should fight to the bitter end. Unfortunately, liberals continue to fiddle while Rome burns.
Would you please wrap up your closing thoughts?
Yes. Yes, academics are critical. So is the understanding of who we are as a nation. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. All right, that concludes the public communication section. Our next agenda item is item 7, board calendar and district update. Superintendent McIntyre.
Thank you, Co-Chair Arco and board members. Tonight, as I typically do, is presenting some items of interest for the board and our community regarding activities and events that we're proud of in the district. We do this to celebrate our students, staff, and community members who are contributing to the accomplishment of our mission, which is to effectively educate each of our students for success. Anoka-Hennepin schools join communities from across the state in appreciation of those who serve our schools as bus drivers. The district has a large and complex transportation system, and our drivers are on the front lines to ensure safety and dependable service for our students and families. Of note, the district is served by nearly 300 buses each day that visit 8,000 bus stops and transport nearly 32,000 students every day. So this message really extends all of our appreciation from across the district for all that they do and the positive impact they have on our schools and our communities. The district's academic Growth Award events recognized hundreds of students who demonstrated high growth in reading, math, and language acquisition over the past year. Approximately 3,000 students meet the criteria every year, receiving a certificate at the school level. The top students from each school were recognized in person by many of you, board members, and other district leaders at the special events held at Anoka High School and Blaine High School earlier this month. And I know in both cases, families and students came out kind of in really cold weather, and those auditoriums were full, and really excited to recognize and support their academic achievements. So we thank them for doing that with us. All right, February is I Love to Read Month, and teams from our middle school students from throughout the district will convene to test their knowledge on the materials they've read through the annual Battle of the Books competition. I have the trophy standing right next to me here. This event is set for tomorrow, Tuesday, February 25th at 9 a.m. in the Erling Johnson Rooms at the Educational Services Center, and I will tell you, it is very competitive. And this goes back to 2011. I think some others at the board table here maybe had some involvement in getting this started. So we're very excited. We'll be there welcoming students, and the defending champions right now are Roosevelt Middle School, and we'll see how they do tomorrow. So we're excited to have the Battle of the Books continue. This is also live streamed on the district website at ahschools.us. Anoka-Hennepin joins districts from across Minnesota in celebrating Public Schools Week, a time for the community to come together and celebrate, support, and champion public education and those staff members who directly contribute to the future success of our students and our community as a whole through their daily efforts. As we all know, the world is changing rapidly, and our schools share in the responsibility to educate and prepare our students for that future. Our theme this year is the power of purpose. It takes all of us, and that serves as a call to action for individuals to identify their purpose or their why, and work together with others in a shared purpose to benefit students, our schools, and our overall community. Anoka-Hennepin continues to work for excellence in all we do, but we also take time to celebrate the successes gained in our schools during Minnesota Public Schools Week. And I always like to do an activities wrap up each season, and it is tournament time again for our student athletes as they compete in the Minnesota State High School League section and state playoffs right now and well into March. So some highlights. Blaine High School boys Nordic skiing qualified for the state tournament for the third straight season. Coon Rapids High School senior Lachlan Demmer earned all state honors with an 18th place finish at the state Nordic meet. In the girls' Nordic race, Ruby Demmer and Bethany Law, also of Coon Rapids High School, placed 5th in the team sprint race. In alpine skiing, Blaine High School's Jared Killian placed 6th overall to earn all state honors. The Blaine High School jazz team qualified for both jazz and high kick state competitions, following a successful run at the Section 3A competition. In girls hockey, Andover High School made its 8th consecutive and 10th overall state tournament appearance. So 8 in a row, 10 overall. The Huskies lost to eventual state champion Hill Murray in the quarterfinals, but ended the season with 2 straight wins, securing the consolation championship for the 3rd time since 2014. In gymnastics, Blaine High School junior Grace Fassel qualified for the state meet in bars and floor exercise. She placed 7th in the floor exercise and 23rd on the bars. Anoka High School freshman Kaylee Lauren placed 19th on the vault. We're proud of our local gymnasts for their state meet. So moving into March, we'll see boys hockey, wrestling, swim and dive, adaptive floor hockey, and boys and girls basketball tournaments, and good luck to all our teams. We know that both Champlin Park and Andover have advanced to the section final in hockey, with those games being played later this week. So as always, community members are encouraged to attend the games, support their favorite teams, and best of luck to all teams as they wind down their winter season. This concludes my superintendent's report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Superintendent McIntyre. Board members, are there any questions? All right. With that, our next agenda item is Item 8A, American Indian Education Annual Update and Compliance Documents. Welcome Tom Shaw, Director of Student Services, Mindy Myers, Indian Education Program Coordinator, and team.
Good evening. Superintendent McIntyre, Co-Chair Arco, Co-Chair DeShane, and members of the board. I'm Tom Shaw, Director of Student Services, and I'd like to introduce our American Indian Program Coordinator, Mindy Myers. Tonight, she's going to share with you updates regarding our American Indian Education Program and examples of the great work they do to serve our American Indian students in Anoka-Hennepin.
Bujuga Kinoia Ninwa Pishki Kizasi Quaintago, Mayangan in Didem, Mayangano Jachak Kizaskay, the Bikagizas in the Pinakazanan. I.e. Ninoend, Nimiguachuin Damino Mayayan, the Dajamiguyeg, Asia no Kiyang, Ajichigayang, the Ombinungidwa, Ningiknua Marganug, the Ouija Ungidwa, Ningiknua Maganug. So I'm Wapishki Kizasikwe. My English name is Mindy. I said that we are very happy to be here today. We're excited to share with you the work that we do to uplift our students, to support our students. And I'll turn it over to our Parent Advisory Committee members that are here with me to introduce themselves.
Buju Miwa Ochinoden. Anthony Drews is my English name. I'm the chair of the APAC and a member of the JOM committee.
Anine, my name is Kimberly Brendan, and I am the co-chair of the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee.
All right, so to kick us off, I'll just ground us again this year in what Indian education is. Our program is a state and federally funded program that is really rooted in the partnership and the relationship between our sovereign native nations and the United States government. So if you think back to when treaties were signed between these two nations or these many nations in our U.S. nation, the U.S. government made a commitment to support our American Indian students' education, and that has looked different. It has shown up in a variety of forms in our history, but American Indian education really came about when our students started moving off reservation, started being more present in public schools, and our communities saw the need to support their unique cultural needs. And so out of that in the 70s, our communities advocated, and that is what we see today. That was kind of the birthplace of our state and federal American Indian education programs. And so as you can see by our mission statement that was created in our Anoka-Hennepin Indian Education Program in collaboration with our APAC, we're really here to support our students holistically. So we think about the academic achievement, the social emotional development, and the cultural awareness of our American Indian students. If you're interested in learning more about the policies, the legislation that supports American Indian education, the reason that we exist, those are some of the policies for here in Minnesota. When we think about who can participate in the American Indian education program in Anoka-Hennepin through legislation, that is any of our students who identify as American Indian, State Ethnic Code 1, and that happens through their enrollment, the demographic information that they share when they enroll. This is a high-level overview of our American Indian education program. We have one program coordinator. I'm super happy to be in my third year here. And I have 7 advisors when we're fully staffed that work with me, an amazing team, 5 secondary advisors. They're aligned in a cluster model. They support our middle schools that feed into our high schools. And we have 2 elementary advisors who support our 25 schools across the district. Overall, we support just over 1,200 American Indian students in Anoka-Hennepin. The bulk of our work looks like direct work in the schools with our students. The advisors are there every day. At the elementary level, they're doing a lot of cultural engagement, and at the secondary level, we're doing a lot of individual and group support on top of our cultural engagement. Outside of our direct work with students, our program creates a sense of community by providing a variety of evening and weekend family engagement opportunities, different culture classes, celebrations, to uplift the cultural and academic achievements of our students. We also provide a lot of different field trips and post-secondary college visits. And then we put on our partnership hat, and we work really hard to build partnerships and community to provide additional supports and resources to our students. So we have a really strong partnership with Sylvan Learning that allows us to provide scholarships for tutoring and ACT prep classes. We partner with a lot of local organizations in the summer to be able to share out different summer program opportunities that are available to our families and our students. We partner with North Hennepin Community College to offer a class in the fall, and we also partner with the American Indian Family Center in order to provide access to Indigenous mental health professionals in some of our schools for our students. I kind of touched on this, but a lot of the bulk of our work, that direct work with students, but also serving as a liaison between the families and the schools. So our staff often attend IEP meetings, discipline meetings. We sit on the MTSS student support teams. We collaborate with building staff and students to create a presence and create safe space for our students in the schools. At the elementary level, again, like I said, we focus on culture groups. So those advisors are meeting twice a month in the schools, pulling their students for small groups. And we really are there to help them build their cultural connection and help inspire pride in their identity as an Indigenous person. At the secondary level, it looks a little bit different. The advisors are in each building a little more frequently, and they have the opportunity to provide more hands-on, one-on-one support with their students, doing goal setting, talking about post-secondary planning, able to be that liaison between the students and their teachers and the parents and the school to provide that different support. When we are not wearing our family engagement or our direct student support hats, we are also wearing the hat as a staff support, a district support. So our school district, per legislation, is required to implement American Indian state standards that span a variety of content areas. And for our team, we are often seen and called upon to come in and look at some of that curriculum or refer them to resources or be a bridge between the district and our parent advisory committee to invite them in to look at some of those things and refer different resources there. And then with that, all of the work that we do is in partnership with our parents. We are a community, and we are here to engage the voices of not only our students, but those ones who are raising them. And so a lot of our work is done in collaboration with our two parent advisory committees, and I'm going to turn it over to our APAC chair and vice chair to speak to those roles.
Yes, so the people who are able to be on our committee are parents, legal guardians, community members, as well as some student representatives, so that we can hear all of the voices of the people who are raising or are Indigenous. And then we do work closely with the program, along with meeting monthly with district leaders, just to try to build those partnerships and bridges.
And then through our JOM committee, we work in partnership with the district through the program to ensure that our students are getting the best educational experience possible. Annually, we have the vote of concurrence, and this year, the committee voted almost unanimously to vote in concurrence with the district this year, so that was great.
To share some more about our program, like I mentioned, we are state and federally funded, so here are 3 different funding streams. Just some data around our American Indian students. You can see that we have like proportionally about the same as statewide, the number of American Indian students in our schools. Here you can see how our students compare to all Anoka-Hennepin students. So our American Indian students in Anoka-Hennepin are the red. All Anoka-Hennepin students are the black bars here. So you can see that our students, we show up a little more under the free and reduced lunch. We show up a little bit more under special education and those kinds of things. These first couple of slides, when we look at proficiencies, you'll see the black line is all Anoka-Hennepin students. Our Anoka-Hennepin American Indian education students are in the red, and then statewide American Indian students. So you'll see that on these next couple of slides, you'll see that our Anoka-Hennepin American Indian students are significantly outperforming statewide American Indian students. However, there's still that gap between American Indian students and all students in Anoka-Hennepin. Reading, the gap is a little bit smaller. Science is also looking pretty good. These next couple of slides are going to be that same sort of data, but how we are comparing to other districts. So our American Indian students compared to other American Indian students in the surrounding bigger districts. So you can see on these next slides, you'll see that Anoka-Hennepin has historically been outperforming American Indian students in surrounding districts or similar sized districts. And then here we measure tied to some of our grant goals around college participation. So these are sort of our students who are taking advantage of those college credit earning opportunities in Anoka-Hennepin. And our 4-year graduation trend, and then our continuation trend. So again, you'll see Anoka-Hennepin is outperforming. Our graduation rate is higher than state, but still there's that gap between all students and American Indian students. All right, and then these are just a few of our goals that are tied to the work that we do. So you can see we have goals around graduation, that college credit earning opportunities. You can hit the next slide. Focus on that literacy and positive self-esteem. Next slide, please. The things that we do, I'm not going to list all of these things because I talked to them on the other slides, but just a different visual of the work that we do to uplift the goals of our program. You can hit the next slide. And then I guess to speak more to our family engagement events, here are some examples of a variety of opportunities. So our trimester celebrations, that's when we uplift the academic attendance and cultural achievements of our students. We have an annual winter event and a spring powwow. This will be our 3rd annual powwow. Mark your calendars, April 12th. Last year, we started a traditional lacrosse team, which really took off, and our traditional archery team has really been growing as well. Next slide. All right. So since the last time we were here, last February, I just have a few slides to highlight. I know the data is always really exciting, but I also have sort of that qualitative storytelling pieces coming up. So we have expanded our partnership with the St. Paul American Indian Family Center, where they were previously only able to send up 1 therapist. We now have 2 therapists in sort of 2.5 sites in Anoka-Hennepin. We've been able to provide scholarships for the 1st and 2nd trimester, and our parent committee also just approved an increase in funding that will allow us to provide scholarships to all families, all students that applied during Tri 1 and Tri 2, so we're excited about that. Next slide, please. Our cultural field trips typically happen in the spring, so these next slides are just highlighting we were able to take our K-5 students, about 90 elementary kiddos, over to the Wildlife Science Center. We took our middle school students to Ho-Choo-Ka-Titi in Shakopee, where they were able to engage in Dakota language. They explored the exhibit and learned how to play a variety of traditional games. And with our high school students, we did a partnership with Wakan Teepee and Wilderness Inquiry, where we were able to bring them out canoeing and do some water quality testing and a Dakota plant walk. This fall, we were able to do a school supply giveaway where over 80 students received backpacks full of school supplies from our families. That was in partnership with the Shakopee Bide Wakanton community. We had over 150 attendees at our annual fall gathering, and footage was shot there to support an Indigenous Peoples Day video where we uplifted the voices of some of our community members. We also took a fall paddle down the Mississippi, and as I mentioned before, our archery team has hit a record attendance. Just highlighting our continued conversations around Orange Shirt Day and boarding schools. And then every year now, we work collaboratively, especially at the secondary level, collaboratively with our middle school and high school students to ask them sort of like what would they like to see in their schools. And so each school looks a little bit different, but collaboratively the students and staff work together to create resources, the students table, and share information with their peers. We took a handful of students to the Native American College Fair, and our high school students were really excited to explore the We Move, We Stay exhibit at the Science Museum this fall, which was Ojibwe and Dakota centered. And here's just a few more photos of some of our kids in their culture groups with their advisors. Next slide. Again, just some of our upcoming opportunities. I really encourage you all to come to our powwow on April 12th. And we'll be sending an invitation to you all for our senior honoring in May. And as always, what guides our programming outside of our conversations with our Parent Advisory Committee members, we also hold an annual public hearing in the winter at our Trimester 1 celebration where families have the opportunity to sort of view this similar presentation and give feedback on what they need from our program. We do an annual survey to all of our families and secondary students in the spring where we gather data. We have our annual Title VI progress report, JOM grant reports, and we meet twice a year with with representatives from the 11 tribal nations in Minnesota and metro area leaders for our fall and spring consultations, and our APAC meetings are monthly. Misa Iu, that's what we have for you tonight.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Board members, are there any questions for our presenters? Director DeShane.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming today and for sharing the presentation with us. I really noted that you're outperforming, or you're increasing on all of your goals. That was really exciting to see. And it sounds like the investment that you're all making is making a difference, right, when you compare to the state averages. So thank you for that work. Clearly some work to do to continue to reduce the gap between all Anoka-Hennepin students and Indigenous students, but I'm greatly appreciative of the work that you're doing. Thank you so much. And I would encourage my fellow board members, I know I was able to attend the powwow last year. It is a very, very good experience, and if you can make it, you should try to get there. Thank you.
Director Langenfeld.
Thank you for your presentation as well. And again, a lot of really important data for us to consider as we move forward. One of the things that always comes to mind when I hear you speak and I think about the collaborative nature of our program, I think it speaks volumes when you have parents and families engaged and the schools working together in partnership. Sharing the value, sharing culture, traditions, all of those really important areas of life, that you really are addressing the needs of children holistically. And in doing so, they see the value in all of the things that you're talking about and engage. And so I think that that's what Anoka-Hennepin has always strived to do in this program. But I over the years, and even coming back now and listening to your presentation after having been out of the district for some time, it continues to grow. And it's the investment of all of us collectively that will get us the results we need and want for every child being served. So thank you for all of that. It's a great presentation. I love all the pictures and all of the exciting things that you're doing in partnership with families and community. So thanks for that.
Director Simon.
Thanks, Zach. Thank you so much for being here. And I think, first of all, I want to touch on the, well, I want to give another plug to the powwow, first of all. So, not just to board members, but staff and community. It is a joyous day. Go if you can. I know Mick Casey and I were there last year and sat together and watched, but I love it, so I will be there. On the presentation, what I really liked and what I think is important, and I'm really glad you did and want to compliment, is it's important to talk about our programs and the why about programs, right? So you went into that with the requirement from federal and state legislation on why we do this, and that level sets why we're here, why you're here, and what we're doing. And also, at this moment in time for Anoka-Hennepin, it's important to talk about the resources too, right? Because we're having many discussions about budget cuts and things like that. And knowing and letting the board know and the community know that there's dedicated specific funds for this program that support the requirement of us to do it. And it's not going to, we're not doing something that's going to add to cuts or be that. So I think it's just really important to highlight that and mention that again. And then the how. So this is where I just want to, I want to call out Mindy first. And Anoka-Hennepin is just very, very fortunate to have Mindy as our program coordinator. So Mindy, thank you so much for your expertise and dedication. on what you do here. And then let's call out our advisors too. And I know throughout my years on the board, many teachers at schools have come to me and told the entire board at what a great resource our program advisors have. And then the dedication of our parent advisory group. Before my board service, I served on those and it is a big time commitment, and you need passion and expertise, and I just want to thank you for your time and everything you do for us. So I think that's it. Thank you.
I would like to say all three of us are products of the program.
Yeah.
We were in the program when we were in school here, so.
Any other questions or comments or discussion from board members? All right, board members, is there a motion to approve Appendix I, the annual compliance documents as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Simon. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Langenfeld. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, will all those in favor say aye? Aye. Any opposed say nay. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, the compliance documents are approved. Thank you guys very much for the presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Our next agenda item is item 8B, the strategic priorities first read. Superintendent McIntyre.
Thank you, Co-Chair Arco. And actually, board members, this is an action item for you tonight if you so choose. I'm recommending that the board take action on the 25-26 school year priorities. These are priorities we briefly reviewed in November. This is our annual time of the year to set these ahead of the following school year so that we have plenty of time to plan ahead. And these 3 priorities really represent a shared vision by the board for our district and reflect the commitment to providing a high-quality education for every student in our district. So not that far back, board members, you can recall, we've had as many as 12, maybe as many as 15 priorities. And I commend this board by narrowing the focus to get to the 3 core priorities that really give us a clear roadmap for the district's work, not only this year, but as we move into next year. So there's 3 key areas that we've always aligned these priorities to: effective, safe, and welcoming environments, increased student achievement, and organizational support. So we have 1 key priority in each of those 3 areas, and I'll just briefly touch on those. Our first priority is to improve student engagement, connection, and behavior by working to create a learning environment where every student feels safe, welcome, and supported. So we have a number of, you've actually been spending time here recently at recent meetings digging into that and working together on how to continue to build on those aspirational efforts that we have. You've also been spending time on the next item, which is literacy, and recently have been receiving lots of information about our elementary adoption. There's been lots of discussion amongst the board and the district regarding the READ Act, which really has continued to evolve. And when we think about the fact that we're trying to get 1,700 teachers and staff trained in the science of reading, that is an ambitious effort, right, at our elementary and secondary efforts, along with that elementary reading adoption process that is happening now and will continue into next year. So we're building that comprehensive literacy framework. We're building that teacher preparation. We're also improving on our screening and intervention efforts. Along the way, trying to increase family engagement, building strong literacy teams, all at a time where our resources are tight. So your commitment to this literacy effort has been very commendable. We're still watching the legislative session to see what additional adjustments they're going to make around the READ Act, but we've been, as you know, monitoring that closely. And then lastly, the third priority for us is really in that organizational area of ensuring that we have a strong workforce. So looking at a variety of things to make sure we can recruit, retain, and develop high-quality staff, whether it's through competitive compensation and benefits, whether it's through strong professional development on those priorities, and also doing everything we can to support employee well-being so that we continue to keep the best with us. So those 3 things are very ambitious, right? And I commend the board for staying true to those and knowing that that work is ongoing. And so we've had those same 3 initiatives or priorities this year, continuing those for next year, is important to have that consistency and stability in the focus on those three areas. So again, just to wrap up, this is our roadmap for starting to look ahead into the 25-26 school year. And by working together to achieve these priorities, really our goal is to make sure every student can achieve at their highest level. So I urge the board to adopt those priorities and to commit to working together to achieve them with us. And I think by doing so, it really sends a clear message to our students, our staff, and our community that we're united in the commitment to doing everything we can to support all students. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Superintendent McIntyre. Board members, are there any questions or comments, discussion? Director Langenfeld?
Learn how to play this thing. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. Literacy is a really large investment across our district, as Superintendent McIntyre spoke to. One of the things as I've been thinking about, and I have the privilege sometimes because of my current time in life where I can see and get out to schools to see what's really happening in that space. And I think about Bridge to Read, which is now seen as a very aligned, in fact, very highly aligned to the standards and the science of reading. To be able to see that in action is a really important part of the work. And so to that end, I know that not everybody can get out to the schools, and I'm wondering if there would be interest in having, as we have these priorities, whether it be for literacy, for me personally, that's one area that I'd like to have our entire board see what I see. And so I'm wondering if it would even be possible to have snippets of those lessons actually presented at the board table or through video or whatever for us to be able to really look at. I was at a meeting last week where community partners came in from the business community representing various areas of interest who all want to actually create collective impact around literacy and are really investing in schools and areas where we're showing proof of concept. And they were able to see a really lovely lesson by kindergartners. They were doing Bridge to Read. They were doing U words, and so the teacher started out and he put on he was sharing the word shun, and they have like 3 sound boxes that these kindergartners are looking at, and he said, no, let's look at this word, and let's put the 3 sounds, so they did the sh and the and the un, and then in the boxes, and then he said, so what does this word mean? And this little one out of kindergarten, mind you, said, well, it's a digraph. It's, the 2 letters S and H create one sound. And you think about what our kindergartners are looking at and what they're learning and they're writing. So I'd like you to see that, and I'm thinking if we believe this is a priority for us, it's really important that we have conversations at our board table regularly, whether it be literacy, and I'm not talking about large presentations, but also seeing what's happening in our schools, understanding that, and then looking at what also the data is telling us, because we need to monitor the data as well. And some of the data I've been looking at is data that you need to see as well, coming out not just in one school at Monroe Elementary, which is a demonstration site for Bridge to Read, and is bringing in a lot of legislators, others want to see what's happening there, but also bringing in our other schools and having that conversation. So I think we need to, if we identify these areas as our priorities, and I believe, I am very supportive of that we have different conversations over time to really understand the investment that we're making in the work. So when, for example, a reading corps teacher comes and talks about the concern, and a tutor to us, that we have clear understanding of if there's a budget cut, what that really means. And those are the kinds of things, as we look at literacy as a top priority, that we make sure that our investments with limited resources are leveraged in the best way we know how.
Any other thoughts or comments? Director Hochman?
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Langenfeld. For behavior literacy and workforce, these are goals that we really should be focusing on. So I'm glad to see them here, but also that piece of being aware so that we're getting data, not just for the board to examine to determine if we're getting closer to achieving these goals, but also sharing that information with the community so that the community is aware that of the good work, of the good things that we're doing to ensure that our schools are providing great opportunities for our kids. So that would be excellent to see more data presented in these areas to target and move towards these goals.
Any other discussion from board members? All right. And this is going to come back for approval at a future meeting, is that correct?
Board members, I think you could take action this evening if you're so inclined. Unless you want to bring it back one more month and put it on the consent agenda is another option. So the sooner the board sets it in place, the sooner we gain our commitment to it. But
Is there a motion from any board member to approve it as it currently is?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. All right, with a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, will all in favor say aye? Aye. All opposed say nay. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, it passes. All right, our next agenda item is item 9, General Counsel, 9A, on 533.5 Physical Wellness Policy, first read. Welcome Tim Palmatier, General Counsel, and Noah Atlas, Director of Child Nutrition.
Thank you, Co-Chair Arco, school board members, and Superintendent McIntyre. We have one policy on for first reading tonight. That's policy 533.5, physical wellness. This policy is a requirement of both state and federal law. There is a specific requirement in this law, and also found in the policy, that we need to do a periodic review and update of the local school wellness policy. That's right out of statute. Noah Atlas, our Director of Child Nutrition, actually went through that process in January this year with volunteers from the District Wellness Committee. They reviewed the policy as part of their 3-year review process. As a result of that gathering, Mr. Atlas came forward to our our February 3rd, 2025 Policy Committee meeting and shared just a few minor changes that were being suggested to the policy. Those were as follows. First, there's a provision in this policy on portion sizes found in section 3C4. It's page 3 of the policy. This was modified. Specifically, the reference to age-appropriate portion sizes was clarified to indicate that portion sizes are essentially dictated by USDA guidelines. I think Noah can share with you why clarification was helpful in that regard, but that was certainly the intent here. In addition, there's a provision concerning food used in school celebrations found in section 3C7. It's page 3 of the policy again. This was modified to indicate that an ingredient statement for commercial foods will be made available. We as part of the policy, required use of commercial foods for food safety reasons, added to that a modification that essentially indicates that the ingredient list would actually be provided. Obviously, this helps students who have various food allergies and other food sensitivities, helps them and their parents understand food is actually being used in that regard. And lastly, a provision in section 5F was modified to more accurately reflect current state requirements on recess detention. We actually made a change to this policy earlier in the year. What we did not include was indicating specifically that if recess detention is used, state law requires that we make reasonable efforts to notify parents. So again, so it's just a reflection of what current statute requires. And so after discussion of these particular changes in its meeting on February 3rd, the Policy Committee recommended to move this policy forward for first reading tonight.
And with that, Noah and myself will take any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from board members? All right. And this will come back for approval at a future meeting? So-
Yep, it'll be on for second read on the consent agenda next month.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
All right, our next agenda item is item 10. Finance, 10A, the amended budget for fiscal year 25. Welcome, Michelle Vargas, Chief Financial Officer.
Good evening, Chair Arco, Superintendent McIntyre, members of the board. Tonight I have our fiscal year 25 mid-year budget amendment. This budget amendment is basically due to our adjusted pupil units. We have a reduction of 449 based on our October 1 enrollment, and then looking at prior year, what we retained throughout the year, and then our other programs. We'll also update our revenues and expenditures based on prior year actuals, contract settlements that we're recognizing, and then current year trends. We are not adjusting the food service fund, the debt service fund, or the trust funds. Usually I have in this timeline that we'll bring it back. This is the first read. We'll bring it back for approval at the March board meeting. So our overall budget, the approved budget adopted for fiscal year 25 was a $717 million in revenues and $742 million in expenditures. We're increasing revenues by $20 million or 2.8%. and expenditures by $15.4 million or 2.1%. The majority of that is $10 million, and it'll be on future slides, is the recognition of an accounting entry we need to enter into in order to generate the English language learner cross-subsidy that comes in 27. So there's a requirement for us to recognize it all in a new finance code with a separate reserve. And what it does is it requires us to have a transfer in and a transfer out. There are other financing uses and sources, so they're an in and out. It will raise our expenditures and revenues totals as we see it, but it's not seen as a real revenue and expenditure. There are other financing sources. This $10 million shows the amount of expenses that we expend in excess of revenue. The new formula that kicks in for cross-subsidy in fiscal year 27 gives us about 25% of that. So that's how we have to make that entry. And that recently came out in our MDE FAQs on how to make sure we account for that right. So that is why that adjustment is in there. So really, the adjustment is about 10 million on our revenue side and 5 million on the expenditure side, or 1.4%. and 0.7% once we take that accounting entry out. As we look at the general fund, again, our pupil units are down. We started with our October 1 count, so we are adjusting from the 41,585 to 41,136, our 449 reduction. Our overall revenue increase on this is 20.2 million or 3.1%. Expenditures are 15.7 million or 2.4%. The ending general fund balance is projected at 146 million, and our unassigned is projected at 57.5 million, or 10.8%. So the detail of the revenue of the almost 2 million, 20.2 million. State aid increase is 9 million. 3.5 million is a reduction in state aid due to that reduced pupil units. 3 million of it is on the basic formula. The remaining 457,000 are all those other formulas that are based on pupil units. So that includes our operating capital, staff development, learning and development, talent development, library aid, long-term facilities aid, and achievement integration aid. All of them have a pupil unit calculation. Our special ed education reimbursement, our final set of dollars are in, so our actual revenue is going up 8.7 million. That is recognized in this one. Our endowment revenue, which is based on the land trust aid, That is increasing, and that's based on the mineral rights and the revenue that they make off of that and how they spread it out to school districts, $928,000. Our compensatory revenue is $810,000. We're separating out the English learner and compensatory. They're all part of basic skills. We also are recognizing the $710,000 of the between-term unemployment revenue that we'll receive this year that we're expecting to run out this summer. But that is recognized in this one, so we're up to $2.1 million in that revenue for this year. And then the $634,000 increased English learner revenue, that is based on our number of students that are receiving services. They also have $221,000 in the student support personnel revenue. Additional state aid increase is $600,000 increase in integration transportation reimbursement based on prior year. That's a reimbursement formula, and then $125,000 for our non-public transportation. We also have $188,000 reduction in our literacy incentive aid. Our property taxes are increasing just because we recognize the tax shift after the fact. So you levy in December. There are a couple of the levies that you take that year that we in December and recognize it the previous year. One of them is unemployment. So once that amount is done in December, we know that and we can recognize it in the current year. The other one is the transfers increase of almost $4 million. That's what we just talked about. In order to recognize the amount for the cross subsidy on the English language learner, we need to create this accounting entry that shows a transfer in of $10.4 million in revenue. On the expenditure side, we have an increase of $15.7 million. $3 million of this is in our special ed area. It's recognition of contracted services. We have also added staff, the staff that's been added and the amount of staff that we've had to contract out. And looking at last year, the amount is an increase of $3 million. We are recognizing the $710,000, so we recognize the $710,000 for between-term unemployment. This is the expenditure side, so that we show both the $2.1 million on the revenue side and the expenditure side for this year. There's $1.2 million increase in salaries and benefits for the paraeducator contract that was settled late last year, or this year actually, and the $346,000 increase in salaries and benefits for office professionals. Then this is the expenditure side of the transfer out for the $10.4 million. So it's an in and an out. It will not hit fund balance at all. It doesn't increase or decrease it one way or another. It just gives us that recognition in order to generate the revenue for the cross subsidy. This next one is just the way that we'd like to show kind of the ins and the outs. If we're doing a grant or something, you'll see it on both sides, the revenue and the expenditures. As you can see, all the adjustments at the top on the revenue side, the decreases are all those pupil unit based. There's not an expenditure side that mirrors it like a grant. As you get further down, you'll see where in special ed revenue going up $8.7 million. We also have expenses going up the $3 million in that area. And then on the other side in expenditures, you're going to see where the two contract settlements and then the English language learner entry at the bottom of the in and the out. So overall, you can see the increase of $20.1 million, $15.67 million. This reconciles back to what we're saying that we're going to end at the $146 million for fund balance. The next slide shows revenues minus expenditures. It also recognizes in the middle area our spending of strategic investment, which is the one-time dollars and $9.4 million. So what you'll notice on this one is our adopted budget, we expected to have an operating deficit of $11.5 million. The increase in some of the revenues, particularly the special ed revenue, has dropped that down now to operating deficit of $7 million. On the next slide, we'll see that by fund balance to show you how that affects the unassigned. As you can see, our unassigned was projected to be at about $52.5 million. We're now looking at $57 million or 10.8% with this amendment. So looking at all of our fund balances, so these are all of our assigned, our restricted, and the unassigned. The unassigned is at the top in the green. You'll also notice we're taking that transfer we have to set aside when we adopt a budget and put in that subsequent year, the 11.6 million. So we've put that back up now into the fund balance. Overall, our operating balance then for our unassigned this year is a $6 million deficit. That's what we are projecting with that change in the revenue that we have, and then recognizing the other expenses. For the most part, as you can see, we really haven't changed in the other areas. There are the strategic investments that we are spending down, the one-time dollars are unchanged. You can see in basic skills, we're spending down slightly, fund balance. As we're looking into the next presentation, there's some considerations on comp ed that with the new formulas that we could be short. As you can see, we have a fund balance of 14 million projected in our compensatory basic skills that we can ride that one out. So I just wanted to point that out as we're looking at it here because we don't get that detailed in the big projection for 26, 27. But, and then in our long-term facilities maintenance, we are carrying a negative balance. We have time to make that up, and there's plans to make that up, and it's allowable. Q-Comp is now a reserve. It was assigned. We've always kept it as assigned because even though MDE didn't recognize it as separate, that you had to keep a reserve for it, we always have. So now it's moved into restricted versus being an assigned, so that's a change from before. So overall, we're spending down fund balance of 16.4 million, but as you can see, the majority of it is in our one-time dollars, and we have reduced the operational spend of 6 million in our unassigned. Are there any questions on the general fund before I move on to the community service fund? Our community service fund, did you have one? Our community service fund, it is about a $30 million budget. We're making adjustments of 0.4% on revenue, 118 million, 29 million on the expenditure side. Very detailed work done in our community ed department for budget. As we're looking at this, they're increasing their school readiness revenue due to some program implementation and verification changes result in fewer discounted enrollments, 138,000. We're seeing an increase in adult basic ed of 100,000 based on some local grants, and then higher than budgeted contract hours. That's a contact hour driven budget. We're also seeing an increase in our central services revenue due to anticipated investment earnings. The investment earnings that we have on our total cash are then spread out based on cash balances. So when we see, the higher interest rates, our other funds that have cash balances are also beneficiaries of overall investment. And then 40,000 increase in non-public and homeschool revenue due to increased student counts in those areas. Additional revenue, there's 120,000 decrease in facilities revenue. That is part early recognition of the phase 2 budget cuts. So that amount that was retained in the community ed department is being recognized and no longer kept in community ed for the management of facility rentals and will be in the general fund. 140,000 decrease in Adventures Plus due to lower than budgeted enrollment. 38,000 decrease in facility monitor revenue, again, originally over projected. A 10,000 decrease in their aquatic lessons revenue due to reduced pool availability, and a net 13,000 decrease due to other program revenue adjustments. On the expenditure side, there's a 29,000 increase or 0.1%. 210,000 is in school readiness and ECF and program due to additional positions, wage adjustments, and one-time capital investments. 50,000 increase in parent involvement expenditures, also due to phase 2 budget realignment. 40,000 increase in enrollment-driven homeschool and non-public programs, again, due to the increased enrollment. 268,000 in Adventure Plus decrease, again, due to enrollment-driven based on payroll and non-payroll savings. And then a net 3,000 decrease on other programming expenditure adjustments. Again, just looking at a side-by-side in the programming, we just like to show by the areas, the revenues and the expenditures. So as you can see, each ones that we talked about showing side-by-side, generally mirroring similar expenditure and revenue increases and decreases. And overall, fund balance, that looks low. Fund balance, no, that's not. They still have a $9.5 million fund balance. If we get to the next page, on a $30 million budget, they're still sitting at 31%. As you can see, our community ed program is very consistent, holding on that, and the 30% budget is very standard in a very highly fee-driven program. And then our final budget adjustment is the final wrap-up of our capital projects fund. So this is the final closeout of the 2017 voter-approved bond revenue. So how we ended last year didn't exactly, but it's a budget, so we need to adjust to where we ended last year to see what was left and adjust those expenditures. So our revenue increase is $90,000 due to additional investment revenue due to the cash that we still have on hand. And then we're decreasing our expenditures by $277,000 based on the available funds after the final closeout. So our projection is to be at a fund balance of 0. We will close out in full. Can we go to the next slide, please? We'll have $110,000 in local revenue projected, and then our expenditures at $3.89 million, so that we will fully expend that amount and close it out at the end of this year. We're very close to closing it out right now. Just some final adjustments. So the fully amended budget for the 24-25 for the mid-year, again, is a 2.8% increase in revenue, $20,394,000, and a 2.1 increase on expenditures of $15.4 million. And again, the majority of that being that $10 million adjustment back and forth between for the English learner. So I'll open it up for any questions. Again, this will come back at the March regular board meeting for a second read and a vote.
Thank you for the presentation. Board members, are there any questions on the amended budget? Director DeShane?
Thank you. Just a quick note of thanks for the presentation. I think it's really important, and it's a value of this board to have accurate books and records, and it's sort of like housekeeping, right? We have new information, so we want to make sure that our accounting records are accurately reflecting the realities of what have happened. I want to sort of restate back what you were saying about that $10 million English language learner. This is an accounting operation to use a new finance code in order to recognize what's happening on those dollars. It's not actual changes because they're accounted for in the funding in different ways, but doing it this way will allow us to recoup 25% of those expenses that are not met by the current revenues.
That is accurate.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Any other questions from board members? Director Audette?
Yeah, just related to the same thing. So I get it that it's some kind of a way to call it out, but as it appears in the general fund, where is it coming from somewhere else?
Right now,
Yeah.
it was part of the basic skills. So
Okay.
compensatory funding and EL were all part of basic skills.
Okay.
So it was in that area.
Yep.
So we'll have to move it out.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to backfill with something else out of it, so that it's more of the shell game to make it all work out in order to make sure we generate that revenue.
Yeah.
If we don't move it out of there, we're spending it there, and they're gonna say, okay, you have enough.
Right.
So we have to move the full expense. So we spend about 14 million on EL right now. We're funded for about 4, so that's where that 10 million that will generate that in fiscal year 27.
So was the change that we were allowed to move it out, or that
We're required
we
to.
were required to?
We're
So it's
required
changed.
to, and if we
Okay.
don't make it, well, you could still put your expenses in your compensatory basic skills, but then we won't generate. We would just put the 4 million
Yeah.
and then fund it, and then we wouldn't generate the revenue, the additional 2 million. So we'd be giving up that revenue if we don't make the adjustment in that entry.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Then I have a quick question. I think I caught it, but where does the amended budget put our fund balance, like the percent?
10.8%.
10.8%. Okay, I did catch that right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? All right. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. And our next agenda item is item 10B, the preliminary fiscal year 26-27 general fund budget. So, Michelle Marcus.
Chair Arco, Superintendent McIntyre, members of the board. That presentation before basically leads us into those updated numbers. We're starting now with a different projected fund balance, and it feeds into these roll-up costs that we're looking at. So at this point in time, as we're in the middle of a legislative session, which funds the next 2 years, we are looking at the next 2 years. And it's also we've been looking out for the last year as we've been going through budget reductions and all of that to see where we are. So this is updated, and what we've updated in here are the new EL revenue coming in, the couple of contracts that we've settled, the transportation that we've been looking at. What's also rolled into here is the unemployment, taking the revenue out but keeping it in. I mean, we've been kind of holding on, like maybe we'll get some funding. But at this point in time, I have it as in law, what we're required to do and what revenue we have, which right now it's not funded. So you have a full layout of that, that is in law for us to start with the Family Leave Act on January 2026, so it's a half year. So we get a half year in 26, and then we add the other full year, so another half year in 27. So all of those are in these projections. It's no more saying we have a couple of unfunded mandates off on the side that haven't been put in here yet. So all the adjustments have been made with those assumptions in here at this time. So as we look at it, we're for fiscal year.
Superintendent McIntyre had a question.
Just to maybe help clarify how I've thought of this is, if nothing happens legislatively, we're just planning ahead, right? We've been testifying on it, right? But if they let those dollars run out, we got to be planning ahead for the impact of it. So, thanks.
So in December, you approved the levy. Those levy dollars are set then to fund fiscal year 26 that we're looking at. We have a legislative session going on that ends on May 19th. The November 24th budget forecast, 2024 forecast had a $660 million surplus for the 26-27, but a $5.1 billion deficit for the 28-29, so the following year. The February forecast will be available on March 6th. That forecast is basically what sets all the targets. They start setting targets then for committees, so that's what we're waiting for to see if anything changes. What we've been doing is finalizing enrollment projections, and those enrollment projections, we're looking at another decline next year. So that's what we've been staffing on and doing budgets. Our school budgets are based on enrollments, and that. So that's what we've been doing. We are working on the department and site budgets. I'll be back in April then with preliminary general fund again, updated based on any changes in the legislature. In May, on the 19th school board meeting, I'll be bringing the proposed for all funds for fiscal year 26, and then the approval for all funds June 23rd prior to June 30th as in statute to approve the fiscal year 26 budget for all funds. So preliminary assumptions right now is a revenue increase of $6 million. The FY26 levy, it was certified. We see a $2.8 million decrease in that levy due to pupil unit decline. So that was kind of 2 years behind at that point. The state general education is going to increase by $3.9 million, so that's net. So we have a 2.6 or 2.33 increase in the CPI. So it's a minimum of 2, a maximum of 3%. That was one of the last increases that the projections for the year. So that's $169 per pupil unit. We're looking at a 1.1% decline in pupil units of 450 adjusted pupil units. So that's how we get to that net increase of 3.9 million. The projected increase for special ed revenue is 5.3 million. That's basically based on our increased expenditures, kind of what transportation has been, what our expenses have been, and then each year, we've been kind of as our tuition goes up, we pay that tuition with our federal. And it takes a year, but it generates that revenue. So our federal special ed revenue, all of it almost right now is paying tuition. So we get reimbursement on, instead of paying salaries with that and letting them just take the revenue off, we get reimbursement. It generates that money for us. So that's what we do with that $7.7 million this year is what we'll do with it. Our student support personnel, that jumps up another 1.3 million. And that's kind of part of our budget reductions. We're saying we're gonna be shifting staff into that. That was part of that. We'll be able to fund more of our social workers that we bought up with ESSER funds next year when we are close to, we're at $2 million in the student support personnel revenue. English learner revenue goes up 1.8 million. The revenue goes from $704 to $1,228. So including the addition to the cross subsidy that comes in 27, they are putting more money on the formula for our English learners. It does go up. We also are looking at 2.1 million. It's taking out the between terms unemployment revenue. We know it's gonna run out, so it takes it out of fiscal year 26. And then in fiscal year 26, that 10.3 million in and out is gonna go down by 1.4 million because of the additional revenue we're getting now. So our cross subsidy will be lower because the English learner revenues went up 1.8 million because of the higher amount. We're assuming that we'll maintain our other local and state categorical and federal revenue at the same level. Investment income, we're still keeping it at 4.6 million. It's holding right now. We're hoping it continues to hold. On the expenditure side, our assumptions are 14.1 million increase in net expenditures. So we're still using 2.5% on salaries for any contracts that haven't been settled, 5% on our insurances. We have a net reduction of 10 FTEs. So we have our staffing ratios. With the loss of pupil units, our staffing ratios reduce by 26 FTE. But we're adding 16 FTE in special ed based on enrollment and needs and IEPs. We have a 2.2 million increase for the second year of the paraeducator and office professional contract, adding that amount in. And then we have 7.5 million for charter transportation and utility increases. We have 900,000, this is the paid leave act, so that's the half a year. So from January on, that 0.44% tax that for the paid leave act for the employer side. 325,000 for our athletic trainer contract, recognizing that for next year. That went up significantly for that one that was recently done on a bid. And then a $1.4 million, the reduction we saw on the revenue side for the other side of the English learner cross subsidy entry. We also are recognizing the 8.5 million in phase 2 budget reductions. 700,000 were actually realized in some of the realignment in the current year because it was an approved amount of 9 million, but 8.5 will be in fiscal year 26. And we transfer that fourth year of the strategic investment back into the unassigned. So those are the 26. And then the 27, I have them side by side on a table coming up. 27, our revenue is a $17 million increase in revenue. So the formula is 2.61% is what CPI is projected at this time. It'll change, but that's what they have now. So that's $194 per student. We're assuming we'll stay stable at this point. That will hold. So that's 7.2 million. The FY26 levy amounts are basically just adjusted for inflation on the referendum, again, using the 2.61%. So that's about $30 on the referendum for inflationary growth of 1.2 million. And then we're assuming we'll maintain our other state categorical funding with the exception of our special ed, which grows with, it's a reimbursement formula. And 2.3 million. The cross subsidy, or the English learner again grows up, we get the cross subsidy, and then it goes up to $17.75 a student from $12.28, so it jumps up another $500. So the state is jumping up the revenue for, to come after that cross subsidy. The last item on there is the $165,000 increase in the transfer for the, so it's gonna go up and down each year, that transfer amount that we do based on assumption of how much our expenses are gonna go up and what the revenue is to create that. On the expenditure side, all we are assuming at this point is the 2.5% on salaries, 5% on our insurances, which is about $16.2 million. Inflationary increases in services and utilities, which is transportation, and that 1.5 million, and then the other side of the 165,000 increase transfer. So just the basics. There's a lot going on in fiscal year 26, just because we know it. You've been making the changes with the budget reductions and contracts, but we'll have a lot of contracts that are gonna be coming up for negotiations starting in the summer. So how does that all look? Back one. How does it all look? So the first column is our amended fiscal year 25 budget, assuming that what I just presented passes. So as we're looking at it, we're currently at that 10.8% of operating. The revenue and expenditure assumptions that were just displayed and are on the side there show an operating deficit of 15.1 million for fiscal year 26. So that will bring us down to 47.5 million in our unassigned, or 8.7%. Rolling to fiscal year 27, where with the revenue and the assumptions and expenditure assumptions, we're operating at a deficit of 25 million, 9.4 million is at one time, so the net operating is 15.9 million. So we didn't grow that much, so that increased EL revenue was helping us. That with all the roll-ups and the shortage, that you can see the difference between 25 and 26, but we're losing revenue in 26, and we're adding in, we're losing the revenue for the between terms unemployment, and we're adding in half of a year of the Family Leave Act, and we're recognizing the large increase for transportation and the contracts. So in fiscal year 27, we're almost holding at that 15 to 16 million. So as you look at it, at this point in time, our target now for budget reductions, if you wanted to close that operating deficit, is 16 million. At that point, you would basically, if we make a $16 million reduction, you're gonna hold that assigned fund balance from 26, the 47.5 million, if you make that reduction for 27. And then you're sitting at about 8.4%, because now your operating expenditures have grown some in the roll-up, but you're gonna be in that 8.4 to 8.7 range, and you still have about 9 million to make up to be at 10%. And that was a member, board member at DET was questioning what our target would be, how short are we from the 10%? So that's kind of where, if everything this is a budget, it's a what if, and there are a lot of things going on. I think we have most of it recognized in here as best we can at this point in time, and we'll continue to follow the legislative session, advocate for funding those unfunded mandates as best we can, but at this point in time, they're not, and that's what this represents. The last one is just, and I always try to keep that out there, 1% on the formula for us is about $3 million. 1% increase on our salaries is equal to about $4.2 million. Our 1% on our health benefits, which also might be something we'll be looking at. We're seeing a lot of large increases, and whether or not any adjustments are made in that in negotiations, that's $600,000. Our transportation contracts, which are, it's over $30 million we spend on transportation. You're looking at, 1% on our contracts, about $400,000. The Included, just to remind you, Minnesota paid leave in 27 is 1.8 million. The first year is 900,000, and then we have the full year, the second year. And currently, our between terms unemployment has been running about 2.1 million. It could go higher, it could go lower. That's what it's been at. So that's what's included in these current assumptions. That looks at about a $16 million budget target reduction to balance out fiscal year 27. So I'll open that up to any questions.
Any questions or comments from board members? All right, well, Superintendent McIntyre?
Just, board members, I guess I just want to reiterate what Michelle said about is what we know today. We've pushed hard legislatively to, mitigate those unfunded mandates as much as possible. So I think it's wise, like we did, to estimate what we think those things are if they don't get funded. We also know we're looking at our literacy adoption. We're not there yet with transportation and utilities, so those are some areas that we're still watching. And there's other things in the governor's proposal that, we got to account for too if that were to go through. So I guess it's what we know today, and we'll keep you, as we move through the session, and assuming they get done on time, we'll know what that target looks like as we move through. So we're trying to do our best to, with Jim's efforts and ours, to keep you informed of what's happening and what does that mean from a financial standpoint. So I guess you're hearing in my voice, there's a little bit, we're waiting to see where it really lands in the end, right?
Director Adet?
Thank you. Just to follow up to that, because I know when you were down there testifying to especially the portions related to I think it was the paid leave and the unemployment, there was some consternation about that. And I didn't quite get why. I mean, I think the statement, if I looked at it, was, well, that's currently funded, so why would you assume it's not going to be funded, right? But what you've laid out, or what Ms. Vargas laid out in terms of the condition of the budget and the state's budget, and there just isn't a lot of dollars there. So in our own district, that's basically $4 million. Multiply that by all the other districts that are out there, that eats up the, 600 and some million pretty quickly. So I think in my opinion, it's a reasonable assumption that you've made. It's a big number. It's a big, it's a quarter of what we're looking at just related to that alone. And I'm glad that you pushed it, and I think you're right to stay on it.
Yeah, if nothing changes, that's the reality,
Yep.
right? And the good news is we're all saying, all the districts are really kind of on the same things, right? So whether we're the biggest and some of the smallest, it hits them, it impacts them just as severely. It's just a scaling issue, right? So I think we've been pretty consistent with the message. I think it's getting through, because I've gotten some irritation out of it, so that's what we want. And really just being able to tell our story, like what does this really mean in real numbers if nothing changes, right? So we'll try to stay on message.
Any other comments from board members? All right, well, thank you very much for the presentation. All right, we are nearing our last board agenda item, which is item 11, board correspondence and communication. Members, this is your opportunity to share happenings in your community, report on committee assignments or other items of interest. Does anyone have anything to share? Director Langenfeld?
It segues nicely into our last conversation on, I know that you've been getting some updates from the MSBA and Massa Day at the Capitol on March 3rd. They're in process of setting up those appointments for us. They are actually looking and asking us which of our legislators, I think we have, 17? We can't see them all that day. But again, names of legislators that you would like to speak with. They're working hard to set those appointments up. So I spoke with Superintendent McIntyre about that today, and I've had conversation with MSBA Denise Dietrich, who is now serving as government relations. And it's just really important to hear from us, I think, as a school board. I know that our superintendents often go down and speak there, but we represent the community and the people. So I know that I'm signed up to go, but it's always really great when you go to your legislative area as well, where you live and you're their constituent. So I just put that out there for consideration if there's any possibility. And I think we'll have schedules so that you wouldn't have to come the whole day. You know, I think that that's what they're really working on it, so that recognizing board members are working most. And so spending the whole day isn't always possible. So they're working on that as well. So I just want to really give that a lift up and make sure that people are aware. And again, that doesn't preclude anybody speaking, to their legislators separately either. But we have a platform, and we just saw our current reality right now, at least right here, right now. So anyway, thanks for that.
Director DeShane?
Thank you. Just really quickly, I know we saw the academic growth ceremonies, so those two ceremonies were lovely to attend. I really appreciate that our district prioritizes recognizing academic growth, because that's what we're here to do, right? Student achievement. I think that's really important. I wanted to shout out the theater programs again at our schools. I know Champlin Park just finished their winter play, Dragons Love Tacos. That was very exciting and entertaining to attend. I encourage everybody to look at what any schools around them are doing and go to those if you get the chance. And lastly, I attended our Community Education Advisory meeting. That's one of the committees that we are assigned in our January packet, and we got an update in depth on our early childhood family education program. I know we heard a bit from Michelle Vargas about the community education budget. We did talk on that a little bit, as well as hear from community partners. So at that advisory meeting, we have city council members from our cities in our district. We have jobs program leads, community college leads, and youth organization representatives. So it's a really valuable conversation to talk about what are all of our communities doing to support the people that live here. Thank you.
Any other comments from board members? All right. The last agenda item is item 12, which is to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Director Audette. Do we have a second? Thank you, Director Langenfeld. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, will all in favor say aye? Aye. Any opposed say nay. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, we are adjourned. The current time is 8:37 p.m.